Hi and welcome to Don't Cancel Your Event, a live stream from here in Oval, London at WebVid's HQ. It's Thursday, 19th of March 2020. We're outside. We're live on YouTube, webvid.com and Facebook Live. So a few options for you. And you can watch this stream back after the event as well on demand. I'm Neil Bentley, the founder and CEO of WebVid Creative Agency, and I'm joined by the WebVid team today, including our creative manager, James Mabbott. And I really hope that you're going to find the next 30 minutes informative with a lot of actionable advice. Now, today we wanted to produce a show which would help events professionals understand their options in an ever-changing landscape. This is obviously being fueled by the coronavirus pandemic at present, but we've been having these sorts of conversations for 10 years with clients. Now, the pandemic might just be the catalyst to implement them more deeply into your strategies now, to protect against future disruption and explore more creativity with digital.
So throughout today's show, we'll be asking for your questions and feedback in our polls. You can do this by logging on to crowdscreen.com/join, and we'll keep this open after the event so you can access and watch the stream on demand. If you use the code webvidevent, add your name and your email and you're in. No apps download, straight into the browser, and then you can get involved, send us your questions. And as today is all about adjusting your strategy, we'll be talking about a few things, and this is what we're going to be talking about on the stream today. We will be talking about live streaming, including tech, creative ideas and revenue generation, podcasting and audio strategy, what you should be doing with your social media, engagement apps and virtual platforms such as Hub, iEvent and Glisser, and obviously the Q&A, as I mentioned before, where we will be answering your questions and we'll reveal the results of our live poll. So you can do that again, crowdscreen.com/join using the code webvidevent. And here's a reminder of why we are all here today. Live streaming is an area that's gained more attention in recent years. This has in part been due to improvements in accessibility, advances in technology, and increased infrastructure support from major platforms. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and even Amazon, to name but a few, all have live streaming options where your audience already exists. So let's take a look at some of the statistics. In 2020, live streaming is estimated to account for up to 82% of all internet traffic. On average, audiences spend 8 times longer watching live videos than videos on demand, and quality does matter. Over 23% of people who have been presented with a live streaming experience that's had poor quality audio or video have switched off or have hesitated before making a purchase. At WebVid, we've been producing live streams since 2013. This means we have the expertise and equipment in-house to produce a variety of solutions for your event or content strategy. So, what is possible? Provided we have a good internet connection, the options can be as creative, dynamic, or entertaining as your aspirations. Live streaming can always be a critical revenue generator, allowing you to integrate advertising and sponsorship opportunities. Our setup allows for flexibility of location as well. So you don't even have to be in the studio. We have mechanisms in place to pull people into your live stream from anywhere in the world. Plus, it can be simple. We can produce something professional with one of our backpacks worth of equipment and a single camera, and then we can just scale it up to a multi-camera setup or whatever is required. Setups like these could allow you to reposition an award show, conference, seminar from a physical event into a dynamic digital production with segments, social interaction and adverts. But if the live aspect worries you, don't worry about it. Live doesn't always have to be live. Pre-producing your content gives you greater creative control, and it can be played out as live, meaning your audiences won't be able to skip through your show and find out what happens next, or, perhaps to see if they were the people that won the award. There really is so much that can be achieved, and I hope this has given you a little bit of food for thought on how live streaming could be useful for you or your future projects.
Remember, if you have any questions on audio or podcasting during this next section, you can tell us via our hub system. The details are on the screen throughout and interact in the polls tab too, of course. Each of the polls related to this section are tagged with podcasts. So it's 2020 and it's imperative that you investigate an audio strategy. Back in 2008, podcasting was over. Also, we thought in the broadcasting industry. How wrong we were. Even though I've been creating podcasts since the early 2000s, it wasn't set to become a thing until late 2010s. Now, it's everywhere. Set into the fabric of how we consume content, it will never leave us, and thousands of people discover podcasting as a channel on a daily basis. The stats are truly huge. Listen to these. Around 1 million podcast shows are online. 35 million podcast episodes in 100 languages. Society and culture, business, and news and politics are in the top 5 categories. So why now? Well, major platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify have invested millions in discovery. The listener can do it on their smartphone. Data plans allow for unlimited streaming, and it's free to consume in most cases. For creators, there are innovative companies that create apps that allow the connection of multiple people around the world in broadcast quality without the need to set foot out of their office or bedroom if need be. Audio works incredibly well for interviews, for panels, and for conferences. It means, like I suggested a second ago, that nobody has to travel. Nobody. Audio commands an audience in a different way. It's less intrusive than video. You don't have to stop down. You can just listen while doing something else, like driving to work, taking the bins out, or doing the ironing. It's fantastic. Take the example of Callison RTKL, a new client to us at WebVid, a worldwide design consultancy who were all set to rock up at MIPIM in Cannes, like loads of others, to hold a panel discussion about delivering happiness in the workplace. Their speakers were going to be flying in from the US, from Egypt, the UK, and around Europe. When MIPIM was postponed, could be cancelled, they engaged with us to explore their options on keeping this discussion going and maybe even opening it up to a bigger audience. So here's what we did. We devised an audio show where the host would be in the north of England and the guests were dotted all around the world. So east and west coast of the States and Cairo in Egypt. We welcomed Katie from Callison into our studio here in this room in London, where she wanted to overlook the production. But Katie now realises that even this step could be remote. We briefed all the participants around the world with timings and what to expect. Katie had a great grasp on the content too, which was a real help. We sent web links out via email. When they clicked on them, it sent them directly into the session. They used their laptops with internal microphones, or they had headsets that they used. It was stupidly easy. The results were fantastic. We recorded each person separately as the conversation flowed. Then we edited the final version directly after the recording. We then created a SoundCloud channel. That's where we were going to host it, adding the branding, completed all the metadata like titles and descriptions, and we had the feed, the RSS feed, primed, ready to go to Spotify and Apple Podcasts within hours. It was a brilliant success, with Callison RTKL broadcasting it on LinkedIn on their channel to over 18,000 followers. They also now have a newfound love of audio and a continuous strategy going forward. But let's creatively layer this one up. We're thinking on the fly. Take this idea, make it live. With more speakers if you wish, we're not limited. Include an easy way to listen to your feed on your website or social media channels, then add in interaction methods like you're doing with Hub today, which we're also talking about on this show. Now you have your own live radio style feed. It could be sponsored, you could play some ads in the schedule, just a thought to keep that revenue going along. You might even want to do something a little bit fun, like a global quiz, connecting with various workspaces around the world in their teams. It can be done. Everything can be recorded for on-demand play afterwards and cut down for social media content too. So it proves to be incredibly efficient for ROI. More importantly, this content lives on and you can use it for marketing and brand awareness forever. A podcast series is like a box set that you watch on Netflix. When you find something that you like, you go back and watch it from the start. The same for podcasts. So here are my top 5 takeaways from audio and podcasting. A podcast can go from absolutely nothing to a show available to a global audience in a matter of hours. Nobody has to travel. You can create a professional piece of audio with multiple participants via laptops and mobile phones. The sweet spot for content with a podcast is around about 27 minutes. But if you feel like your content is great for 2 hours, make it that length. No hard and fast rules. You have control. Have a strategy. If you plan a series of 10 or a weekly podcast, keep to that promise and frequency. It will deliver you results. And audio can be transmitted live, just like a pop-up radio station, and your audience can access it from platforms they're comfortable with. You're probably also thinking about quantifying the audience too, as data is always the key factor in making it pay long term. Well, you can do this with audio podcasts. From top line listens to average consumption of episodes, it's all there. Slightly different on various platforms, but that's something we can aggregate for you and deliver back as a monthly report. The description of this video does contain some useful links for audio hosting and connecting people online. So if you want to go off and have a look yourself, please feel free. So we talked today about live streaming and also podcasts, and we're joined in the podcast studio here to talk about social media and the importance of that in the events industry, especially when you're pushing it from physical to digital, by Amy Blaker, who is our project coordinator at WebVid and also looks after social media campaigns for ourselves and for our clients. So Amy, how are we going to kick off? Should we kick off with some of the really successful ways that we've done social media campaigns for events?
Yeah, so we've worked with a number of clients and we've done many things from full campaigns to Instagram takeovers to sort of on-site edits. I'm just going to run you through. So we're creating assets for clients where we're posting maybe each month, and then we're counting down to the events and we're posting, throughout the events as well. The on-site edits is normally where we're filming during the day at the events, and then we're putting out the content, by the end of the day. So
this is quite interesting, isn't it? Because we've seen a shift over the last couple of years when it comes to video. In the old way, we did highlights videos and stuck them out on YouTube for clients, and they were getting 40 or 30 views over the year. Good for marketing.
Yes, but they are putting them out maybe 2 months after the event. The perk of this is that you're putting it out on the day, so people are able to see what's happened at the event. If you've got, say, a 3-day event, what we're doing is putting it out at the end of each day, and then people are coming back and they're sort of saying, oh, okay, I saw your video yesterday, I really, saw what happened at the event. And it's advertising in a way for people to go to the event the next day.
Yeah, it's sort of being involved in the conversation when it's relevant. Yeah. 2 months later, you're not going to go on YouTube and be like, oh, do you remember that award show we went to? I wonder if there's you want to be part of it and part of that experience. And I think that's why there has been that shift and why it is more successful for people in the event sector at the moment.
Because we move from that kind of, when we're just talking about kind of on-site highlights, videos and edits, we move from one that was like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes to sections that were then put on Insta or on LinkedIn, all specifically targeted for the correct platform and in the right aspect ratio. I mean, we've seen huge uplifts in views. So when I was talking a second ago about like the 30 or 40 views a client would have on a YouTube video over a year, then you compare that to, recently we did one which had thousands, right?
Yeah, it was like 3,500 views, and that's just on Facebook alone. And this is something that's flexible as well, that you can put out on every different platform. Like you say, we can tailor it to whether it goes out on just Facebook or whether it goes out on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, it's a really great way of reaching your audience.
And I think it's really important to specify, like, those kinds of results, those kinds of numbers are really, really good, because, you know, with a lot of the events and a lot of the brands, you know, there's a certain cap to the audience. You know, it's not sort of like a global campaign that has appeal to millions. You know, you've got a captive audience, you've got a niche audience, you've got a target audience, but it's making sure it's relevant to them. It's the right content at the right time. And I think that uplift kind of shows that.
Do you think that everybody should be on every single network?
Not necessarily, no. I think you really need to focus on where your audience are. I mean, think about the people that are using LinkedIn. You've got business people on LinkedIn, but you might find that you want to target people that are millennials or Gen Z even on TikTok. So it's just about focusing on where your audience are.
And there's a lot of audience on TikTok at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, crazy amount. And there's a crazy amount of engagement. So it's an opportunity that's not to be missed, really.
So we've done things like Insta grids as well. So do you want to talk about how we position content across an Insta grid? Because we do it in a really fantastic way, I've got to say.
The way that we work here is that we'll design a grid and we'll have this sort of look set out. And with some clients, we've done this over a matter of months. So it could be that it builds gradually, or it could be that you're posting 3 times a day and it builds over the course of the event. But the key thing is that it sort of builds this look and feel over the whole grid, really.
And we've built competitions in that as well, haven't we?
Yeah. And that's been massively successful
as well.
I mean,
that's really interesting. So looking at all these different ways to actually put engagement into social platforms, also with podcasting. A lot of the podcasts that we put out, we were putting something out called Top Pod, which is just on our social media. But they're like cut down little reviews of podcasts that are really interesting for potential viewers of our feed. And they've been doing incredibly well as well. So there's lots of different assets that we can do.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you just have to stick to one piece of content. If you're going to design a grid that looks like it all fits together, don't be fooled by thinking you just have to have an image on there. It could be that you still, you know, change that into a video, or you change it into, like you say, with podcasting clips. So we've got stuff on our own feed that's linked to Instagram TV, but we're highlighting it on the feed and it still looks like it fits within everything and it's been designed for it. So yeah, there's clever ways of doing it.
Now, how important is it to have a continuous social media strategy?
Super important.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that we see with events so much is that people will think, oh, okay, it's probably 2 weeks to my event and I should start talking to my audience now. And it's like, you need to be posting consistently throughout, you know, the year. You've still got an audience there, or you hope. So keep posting. Keep engaging with them. Just because your event isn't happening, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't still be talking to them.
Absolutely. And we were talking about assets just a second ago. I think one thing that we should touch on is one asset that gets overlooked a little bit, which is Insta stickers.
Yeah.
And it's one thing we're incredibly proud about. It's something that somebody might find interesting to put inside of an integrated campaign.
We've kind of seen the evolution of the Instagram sticker, because when they first started out, it wasn't like you were able to include logos or anything on them. It was like you could include, I don't know, we just did things like love hearts. And, you know, actually, I remember one of the campaigns that we did a barbecue. And that was one of our most well-received gifts ever. I think that got 21 million, or it's probably a ridiculous amount, even more so now. We need to look at how can you benefit from that as a company and as a brand, where you can include your logo on it, or you can include some sort of strategy into the actual gifts that you develop and still sort of cash in on those views, I guess.
I mean, you get a lot of creative freedom with creating that stuff, and it's nice as well because it's the kind of content that people just want to use in their everyday life, not just because like they're at your event. But I mean, talking about a thing that enhances the experience of the content that you're outputting, you know, that really does deliver.
So social media feeds, we're kind of talking about it as a place to market at the moment, your event. But it's also, I mean, you could run an event on social media. I mean, if we're thinking creatively on the fly here, I mean, you could use that grid in releasing your winners across the grid. You could be doing some creative stuff where, I don't know, you're sending some prizes out at the same time that you're releasing that stuff to people in their offices, maybe donuts or Prosecco and popcorn, which we've talked about before. So it's just using social media in a really innovative way, isn't it?
Yeah, and using the tools that you've been put in front of you. So with Instagram, you've got things like countdown tools on stories. So you could be counting down to your event, pre-marketing, think about all of those things that you can add into your strategy. And I think, James has touched earlier on the different platforms that offer live streaming services. You could do everything digitally now, and it's kind of crazy to see this transition from, I used to run events, and now it's like I'm now seeing how you can take things online. You don't actually need a physical venue anymore. You could do everything from literally right here.
I mean, you can really make a comprehensive, cross-platform strategy that has such high production value. It's just so much easier now than it was 5 years ago. But it's the quality of output, and not just in terms of video and graphics, but just the whole package of everything that is available can really make an event or a brand or an award feel so premium. Rather than
all comes back to strategy, though.
You have to plan it. It's not just a case of let's just chuck money at it and see what happens. You need to know what you want to achieve.
It's frequency as well. If you're putting stuff out, and we probably talked about this in podcasts as well, it's frequency. If you're doing something, it has to be kept up. Your audience needs to know when they're going to get something, so they feel like they're part of it. It does frustrate me that we still speak to some people when we go, look, these tools, this will do this, and they're like, I don't really understand this. And it just means that you need to look closer into that, because that could be the difference between you marketing an event that sells lots of tickets to no tickets, or delivering a physical event for digital event from a physical event for a lower cost. We did a marketing campaign for a client recently. We had to turn around 30 odd bits of content within about 4 days. And that proved to that client very quickly how social media could benefit their event. Actually, just talking about it, what tools are really good to be able to create assets? If you're not going to be going to an agency and you want to create some of those things yourself, so Canva's really good. Adobe Spark is another really good.
I could probably just go through my phone and tell you about all the different things that I've got on here. Film, which is actually Zoella's platform.
And so tell me about that app. How does that help?
That is a video editing tool, so you can just really quickly cut stuff together. You can add filters, you can add sound, but it just makes it really quick and easy to edit stuff. I've got something called Over. You can do animation on here, so you've got animated stories, and that's all scaled to Instagram.
But the reason why I wanted to kind of touch on some of these tools that are out there is because when you come into an agency like ours and you want quality and consistency and strategy, and you've got a budget, that's great, that can be done. But if you're a smaller company or you don't have any budget, there's no reason why you can't do something and get it out there. A lot of the times with social media, it's just about getting content out quickly and at the relevant time. Hashtags incredibly important. I mean, everyone must know about this, but how many hashtags do you normally put on one post?
I think the guidance now is something like 11, but I still go the full 30. I think you can always an opportunity basically to reach people, so why not just use it?
We can live stream into social as well, so we can do that on Twitter, we can do that on Insta, we can do that on Facebook Live. Incredibly important when thinking about your social strategy to put that in as well. Really good for Q&As, but also LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn has been, I think, one of the successes of the last probably 12 to 18 months. Because I remember being on there a couple of years ago. Everyone's obviously out on there, looking for new opportunities or putting their CV up. And then all of a sudden it became a place where normal social content lived as well. It was getting a bit of a place where we were all like, oh no, someone's putting a picture of their food up on LinkedIn. But then it kind of made this transition. But it made that transition to... yes, it's business focused, but it's incredibly engaging on LinkedIn. I mean,
it's relevant content to the right people and the right platform, and it's like those kinds of things where businesses were trying to find the right forum to speak to other businesses or professionals to other professionals, that is the place for it. I think it's tried to live a little bit in the past on Facebook, hasn't really cut through. I mean, Facebook was kind of like the initial landing page for everything, and I just think slowly like things have started to find their correct placement.
I think LinkedIn's still in its early days. I think I remember talking about this about a year ago now, and it was like, is it just for jobs anymore? Because they still kind of market themselves as the place of like, go here to search for a job, but it's not how people are using it more. So it's like, are LinkedIn themselves evolving?
What's the three biggest takeaways from social media when doing a campaign? I mean, for me, it would be number one is the content. The content is king. That needs to be thought about, and that needs to be strategized, and that needs to be planned.
I'd say add value to your audience.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we're doing as an agency anyway, so it's probably worth, if people are watching, to think about that. Yeah. So add value in some of the posts we do on LinkedIn. They're kind of skim through posts where you could go through a document. One of the best things was when Fire Festival didn't happen. Or did happen, but didn't happen. And they had their pitch deck up on LinkedIn, and then you could skim through the pitch deck. Those things are really engaging. They add value to the person that's looking at that content. And there's lots of things that you can do. So we did one recently about the top 5 things to consider when doing a podcast. That's really, done really well for us. So there's things like that. And the third thing, choose your network correctly.
Yeah, I'd say, choose your platform for the right audience.
I'm going to add number 4 in. You just have to do social media.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Be on it.
Be on it. So quickly, before we run off this section, if you are on Hub, send us through some questions, take part in the polls to do with social media as well. You can log on to crowdscreen.com/join and just put in webvidevent. That's the code that will take you through. And we're going to leave that open after the live stream as well. So all of those will come through our Hub platform to us. Now, while I'm talking about that, I think we really should talk about engagement at events. Now, Amy's background also is an event manager. Now, one of the things that we're doing today, obviously, is using our Hub platform. How can we really turn those physical events into digital events using specific platforms for engagement? So there are things online where you can switch those events very easily. So Glisser, iVent, places like that will need extra content from you and a content strategy, but will give you the ability to stream live events, to have interaction, iVent's very interesting actually, because it's an exhibition space where you can walk around the exhibition space and people can do things live and ping you live.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a comprehensive platform, really. But I think it's definitely set to have more of a resurgence now. I think, not just in terms of the current climate, but I just think, why do you always need it to be physical?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about physical events is that you want to go out, you want to have that experience, you want to get dressed up. So physical events are never, ever going to go away. No. But using things like Glisser and iVent and things like that, platforms that you should go and check out, it really does give you the option to do that. Now, we're also talking about engagement tools like Hub. Mm-hmm. So Hub is our own system, which you're asking questions on today, which has a polling system as well and feedback. It supplies stats to the events managers. It gives you the ability to use it on audiences of all sizes. It's been a tool that we developed in-house over the last couple of years, and it's been incredibly successful, hasn't it?
Yeah, extremely. I think that's actually the tool that we were using on the event when we met originally. And I guess that's alongside the other one that we haven't mentioned, which is CrowdScreen.
Yeah.
And that's another platform that we offer here. So that's about pulling through the data used by hashtags and then sharing that social up on like a screen. But if we're talking about doing a digital event, this could be integrated within like a live stream or in many different ways. So it doesn't have to be that it's at a physical event anymore. It can be integrated in different ways. It's just about being creative with it.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't matter what application you use it for. If it's something that's allowing you to engage in and enhance conversation, I mean, it's only going to sort of add value to whatever production you're putting together.
That's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, it is easy. I mean, if you're using it now on this on this live stream, you'll know how easy it is.
Yeah.
So that's our bit on virtual events and on social media. We'll be back in a second with a live Q&A. So get your questions in and we'll be back to you in just a second. Hi guys, we really are live. Thank you so much for watching our live stream today. Just to prove it to you, it is 13:32 on Thursday, the 19th of March. I hope that whatever you're doing, self-isolation or social distancing, which we're trying to do
respectfully,
is going well for you. So I hope you found some of that interesting. The last couple of weeks for us has been crazy. Lots of people contacting us with lots of interesting, challenging ideas, and with a sort of company that really relish the opportunity of looking at those ideas and using our technology and our team to create what's going on. So just to let you know what's happening with us at the moment, James and I are in the studio today doing this, but we have remote studio locations now all the way around with our team. So that means that we can do any of this with all matter of equipment, whether it's huge black magic cameras like we've got now, or switches or whatever, to all different platforms from wherever, including remote podcasts. So also thank you so much for using our hub system. And this system really now has been kind of thrust into the fore because of what's happened recently. And it really does go together really well with live streams. Already there are loads of questions coming in. There are loads of polls. What do you want to do first? Do you want to answer some of the questions, James? Do you want to go through some of the polls and see some sort of the answers?
We could do that. We could put one live now to show that it's real and it works.
Yeah, why not, eh? So if I go into the polls section of our app, I'm going to put a poll live that I don't necessarily want you to answer straight away. It will just pop up in your polls tab. But it's what's been the most important takeaway today, live streaming, podcasts or social media. You can answer that at the end and we'll go through some of the questions right now. So that poll is now live and you should see that come up in our, I think, quite elegant hub system in just a second. So we'll quickly switch to the questions. Georgia, thank you so much for joining us on the live stream today. Have you got examples of how sponsors can be kept happy going from a physical event to a digital event? Well, yeah, I mean, again, it's a situation, isn't it, where everything's very fluid at the moment. We're looking at ways that we can integrate sponsorship material into digital events. So things like, content is the one thing that really keeps sponsors happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whether it's winners content, whether it's extra content in the live stream, whether it's if people are watching it, maybe, at the moment, not in teams, but individually, we can send things to people.
We had a kind of an idea we've talked about several times where perhaps if people are watching at home or in small teams, which may not be the case at the moment, but you could certainly deliver something to them, be it a small bottle of Prosecco and a bag of popcorn. Have you got those kinds of sponsors that are involved with your events?
And we've also got other systems like Tag Printer, where we can use Tag Printer remotely as well. So we can send people really cool Instagram sponsored multiple aperture prints, which sponsors love as well, because the recipients that get them make sure that they keep them up in their office. We will all go back to an office, by the way, at some point. So there's lots of different ways that we can integrate sponsors through extra sponsor material, making more content, making.
I think even running like ads or existing content that they have. One of the things you can do with your live streams now is kind of think of it more as a broadcast scenario than perhaps just a straight, awards event or, whatever kind of event you're running. There's no reason why, if your headline sponsor or any affiliate sponsors have promotional videos or ads, you can't run that as part of your feed. I mean, it's just kind of like watching TV. So you have that opportunity as well. But again, it's all the kind of the same mechanisms that are in place for most shows, just in a digital format. If you want to put your keynote presentation together and there's, some additional slides in there featuring sponsors, you could even do live reads.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I will say that I don't think I said anywhere during the live stream is, look, this is never going to replace a physical event. And I see that Amy has sent us a question as well, which has had 3 thumbs up. So good question. One of the main things that people enjoy about the event being physical is networking. Is there a way around this when hosting a digital event? Well, there's lots of really interesting things going on at the moment. Firstly, I don't think anything can replace a physical event. People dressing up, going for that experience, going out to that physical event, that will always be there. I've been in events for like 20 odd years. And that's why people enjoy it.
Especially in specific industries like, sure. Like farmers or something, that's their one time of the year they get to roll up to the big city. Maybe media, they might be a little bit more like, okay, we go to about 20 of these a year, but it's still special.
It's not a case where I think that every single event needs to be a physical event. So it can be a digital event first, and then a cut down, more, a better experience, which is better for ROI for you, more efficient. It can be kind of cut up like that. The big events will always be the big events. The big PR Week Awards will always be there because people want to be there. But there are certain events where you have to deliver content as well as award ceremonies, which can be put online as digital as well. Thank you. Can you do the keynote too, or do we need another agency to do that? Okay, I wasn't going to talk about that. No, Georgia, we can do everything. We have our team all the way around in remote locations at the moment. They're all staff. They're not freelance. I've been building the agency for 8 years, and we have graphic artists, illustrators. We do openers and keynotes. And yeah, I'd be happy to show you that at another time. Absolutely. But we can do that. So we were talking about digital events from physical. I know you offer the social walls. Is there any way we can have an online social wall? Yeah, everything that we offer can be put as widgets online. So you can embed our social walls, which get used by a very famous race around the world, but not this year, unfortunately, until they get back to the season. So you can embed our crowd screen products there. Hub, which we've got here. There are embeddable options in Hub. So I think one of the questions I saw coming in from Steph. Hi, Steph. So you're talking about, can you tell us about streaming events, webinars integrated with Q&As, which is kind of what we're doing now, but how do we integrate Hub into actually the video that you're seing? The only reason we're not doing that right now is because it's James and I.
It's literally just us. There's no one operating anything here.
Yeah. So we could actually set that up so Hub can be in there, so we can switch to Hub, so we can show the polls, we can show the questions coming through. So that's all possible within our platform.
And also in the same way, we can with CrowdScreen. So any social integration in terms of like your feeds, you can still get your presenters, your hosts to encourage people to tweet, send their Instagram posts, and that can be part of the program as well. So that stuff can be involved.
Some quick ones here. Are people able to catch up on the event at a later date?
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything's archived, so people can watch it back. They can do it on demand. You can download the MP4 or whatever video file we create, and you can host it somewhere else.
But also equally, if you don't want people to see it after it's live, that's possible as well. So it's kind of whatever you'd like it to be.
Actually, you make a good point, because I haven't got a question in here, but we have had the question a few times over the last couple of weeks. Can we keep it private within groups? There's things that we can do. There's platforms that we can use. We're using YouTube today because we love YouTube. Their stability is phenomenal. hoping we're not gone down now. But their stability is amazing, and their integration is great. But we can put that into Facebook, we can put that into Wowzer servers, we can do that privately into Livestream, Vimeo, whatever. So we can put that behind payment gateways and private gateways as well. But most of these events and content, you want to reach out to as many people as you can, because sponsors want that reach. Could thousands trying to connect at one time crash the stream? No. I guess that anything could happen with anything, but if you're using a really robust platform like Livestream or IBM's system or Vimeo, then or Facebook, no. They're handling so much data every single day. It's very small in comparison to what they're doing. What sort of stats can you get about who watches an online event?
There's lots of stats available.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
So you can get top line views, you can get average consumption. If you're watching it or if you're delivering it via YouTube, there's lots of things in YouTube's dashboard mechanism that allows you to give out some really cool stuff.
And that's important information to have, because obviously if you do have commercial partners, sponsors, you need to go back to them with that information to kind of say, okay, this is what your ROI was on being involved with our live stream.
The main pool for our events is to see the guest speakers. Obviously, we can't get them all in one place at the moment. Is there a way they could be brought into a live stream one at a time remotely? So that's Mark. Thank you, Mark. Yes, you can. So again, with our remote studios at the moment, there's a couple of different ways we can do this, because we are live right now. This isn't a joke. We are live. It's 1:41 almost.
In the year 2007.
No, it's not. And you can either do it live like this, and you can bring people in via platforms like Google Hangouts and Zoom and lots of other stuff, and we can switch those, we can bring those in as a show. But sometimes it's to keep the quality correct. The end bit is live. The stuff before is pre-produced.
It's kind of reiterating what I was saying in that section earlier. Like, pre-production does give you greater creative control. And I think especially if you're working with lots of different people that are going to be sort of connecting with us from various locations, I think any opportunity to work with them on an individual basis, look through their content in advance, is always going to be advantageous.
Steph asked a question: assuming speakers video their speeches in their own confines, how can we create continuity in how the staging looks to the user? Again, when you're producing this stuff up front, it's not like it's just James and I. There are the rest of the team, and we've got graphic artists and illustrators and motion graphics. So all the things you've seen in today, where we integrate all those little extra bits in, just lift that stream. So we can direct those people on how they film their stuff. We'll be on the stream with them, because we don't want them to film it their end without any directing from us. Yeah. So we'll record it our end, they'll film it their end. And they can use a webcam, but there's some really easy things like framing and whereabouts in the room they are, and lighting and stuff like that. Then we can pull that and we can put it into a graphical background, we can put it into a frame, we can there's lots of different layout opportunities for us to create that cohesive continuity across the content. So it's just about exploring that, looking at what you're doing, look at your brand assets, spreading it out around my team, and then coming back with some great ideas.
I would just like to add, though, to that point, because we had a conversation with a different organisation recently, where they were kind of trying to ask about whether they could film everybody in front of green screens and things like that. That may not be what your thinking is, but I think some people kind of think, maybe we'd like to have them all in the same background. Can we key them out on green screens? I mean, it is possible, but from a practicality point of view and a quality control point of view, it's not worthwhile. Unless you've got, if you can film one person in a central location, like a main host, perhaps, but for everyone else, it's not really worthwhile.
So looking through a couple of the polls, so what's been the most important takeaway so far? This is either people that have left us already or are still on. Live streaming's coming out top, podcasts in second. Have you executed a digital event successfully? Now you see a little bit earlier on, yes was in the lead, no is now 57% in the lead as well. So interesting. What events do you mostly manage? A mix of awards and conferences and awards coming out top there. Do you listen to podcasts, which is a good one? Because we haven't really touched on podcasts in this Q&A. It really is something that could be efficient, cheaper, and really engaging for your audience. Have a think about it. Like I said in my bit earlier on, we all thought podcasts were dead, in 2008, 2010. Massively wrong. They are huge at the moment, and we're getting calls every single day. And because now we've gone into a remote situation, we have broadcast quality software that allows us to connect people together. So podcasts are really, really important. And that's also an opportunity for sponsors to be able to be part of your content, and a really good commercial venture. How much budget would you assign to create a podcast episode? So £0 to £500. Okay, quite shrewd, also quite cheap. I would say it's around about the £500-600 mark. But again, if you're doing a series of, and you're looking at ways to do it, then there's easier ways and more efficient ways to look at that. How do you listen to podcasts? So that's coming up with Apple iTunes podcasts way out in the lead over Spotify in second, which is really interesting because that's not the case. Spotify has now overtaken Apple Podcasts in the world to deliver content. How long is the perfect podcast episode? 30 minutes, pretty much spot on. I didn't give you the option of 27 minutes in there, so very good indeed. Thank you so much for being here today. There's a lot of questions in here that we're going to answer also in other bits of content that we do after this. We are massively open for business. It's a challenging time. We're working remotely with lots of people, but we are here to help. So if there is anything that you need, if you don't have in-house teams with graphics, and you would need some help with that, we can do that. So when we're talking about these online scenarios, we can do everything from the graphics all the way through. And we're a pretty fun team to be working with as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a challenging time for everybody, but, we're here to be creative and to be adaptive and to kind of help support whatever your aspirations are. Everybody's having to think on their feet a little bit, but we do have, lots of things available that we can kind of collaborate on. So we're always open for a conversation if you've got some ideas.
Absolutely. So if you want to drop either James or myself an email, you can do that. It's neil.bentley@webvid.com or
james.mabbott@webvid.com.
Okay, very interesting that you didn't know your own email.
I didn't even know my own name for a second there.
Okay, perfect.
That's all right.
And of course, you can give us a call on the same office number. That's diverted out to all of our team around as well. Look, stay safe. It's a really challenging time. Events are not cancelled. They may be postponed in the physical world, but we can adjust that strategy to at least deliver content and really high quality content to your sponsors and your audience. So have a great time, whatever you're doing today. Don't go too stir crazy. One of the things we are thinking of doing on our webvid Facebook is a little bit of a music quiz that we're going to get out there. And that's going to be produced quite high, and all of us are going to take part in that from all of our remote locations. So even if you're just thinking, oh, that might be quite interesting to see how they bring remote cameras into a situation, have a look. Just like our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/webvid, and you can see on there.
Hopefully it'll be quite fun as well.
Excellent. Well, that's all from us.
Thank you very much.
We can socially distance now. Have a great day. We'll keep Hub open. Keep your questions coming in. We'll do some more content over the next couple of days. Now, this isn't very elegant.
This is going to be smooth.
Yeah, this is not very elegant.
I mean, this is good. Bye, everybody. Thanks very much.